Today, for the first time, we are reviewing an episode by Pearly Thing. Has feminism done more harm than good? Let's dive into it.
I would say I'm a feminist, and that's because if not for feminism, I wouldn't be here right now, because I'm here because my mum was able to work as a nurse, bring us from Nigeria, and create a life for us. So I'm grateful to feminism for my life, basically.
Feminism has contributed to having more women in the workplace, that's true. However, the biggest impact on women's ability to work is not feminism. It is the technological revolutions. First, the birth control, the ability for women to control when they want to have kids. Secondly, the ability for women to manage their period with pads and so on. These are the technological innovations that have contributed to having women working. Not only feminism. Feminism is a very small part into this equation. The second part is that people are less likely to work in factory, physically demanding jobs. And this is why it is easier for women to join the workforce. Let's continue.
I need my man just as much as he needs me, if not more. But that's what's changed, is that nowadays the feminists think that they don't need men. But if they didn't need men, where would we be? So I'm a feminist that in the old school days, I like what I've been given. I've been given an inch. I'm happy with an inch. I don't want the yard. I can't handle the yard. So me, I'm okay working, taking care of my man, and being feminine. And I think the feminists have taken feminism out of the word feminist. It's to do with being an empowered woman, not being an empowered masculine woman. And I think that most of the feminists nowadays, they're butch, they're masculine. Even if they look feminine and they think they're feminists, they got this underlying, I'm the same as men or equal, and you're not. You know what, women? Hold back, know your place, hold your corner. That's my view.
That's very true. Feminism has done a lot of harm, thinking that women should become like men. And that's the issue, because men and women are different. We work really, really well together. And this is why the best possible families is when a man is masculine and a woman is feminine, and both of them are complementary. This is the best possible equation. At the end of the day, a lot of feminism, especially the second wave and the third wave feminism, has been mostly focused on pushing women to become like men. For example, women are being asked to become more promiscuous in order to become much more like men. However, women and men are different. Women have always been the gatekeeper when it comes to sex access. Then now that this is open, men do not have any respect in sharing bed with a woman, because it is so easy. If we want to have more successful relationship, more successful marriage, we need to go back to a model where the woman is the gatekeeper when it comes to the sexuality, and preserve as much as possible the sexual access.
The point is, like, when he asks you to do something that you don't want to do,
No,
or to not go somewhere that you want to go to.
I will consider his feelings, but if it's in my best interest, I cannot put myself. The only man or the only being is God that can tell me by speech, by
But God
prayer,
always says-
by whatever, by message.
God says
what's-
obey your man. The man's
He's
the
not my
head.
husband. This
The
is what I'm
man's the
trying to
head.
say. He's my man. He didn't put a ring on it.
But then
That's what I'm saying
you should
about
be listening-
I
you should
can't
be with him until you put the ring on it.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, if I'm a feminist, what does it mean for me as a single woman? That's what I'm trying to understand from this conversation.
Okay,
So first of all, no man wants such a combative woman. If a woman always goes into an argument, if you ask her a very simple question and she starts to argue all the time, no man wants that. No man is interested in such women. Men want a collaborative woman, someone that they can work together, work with. They don't want a combative woman. And you can tell that she's saying that she wants a partnership, but at the same time, I bet that she's the one that wants the men to pay on the first date. She's the one that wants the men to take much more charge of the expensive in the house. So you can't have both ways. You can't say I want a partnership, but at the same time I want a man that earns more money than me. At the same time I want a man to give me lots of different gifts, and at the same time I want the man to pay for everything. It doesn't work like that. This woman can be entitled to her opinion, and this is totally fine. However, she needs to live with the consequences of her choices. In this specific occurrence, I don't think that she's married, and that's the conclusion of her actions. So if you don't behave in a certain way, you're not going to have the outcome that you seek. And when you listen to her argument, she doesn't want to behave as a wife until she gets a ring. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? The man doesn't want to behave as a man until he's married. It wouldn't really work. So the man doesn't want to pay for the dates. The man doesn't want to be masculine, so he becomes to be feminine. Would that work? It wouldn't, obviously. And this is why it's important to be consistent whether you're dating or relationship or marriage. Let's hear what Destiny has to say.
Area. You guys talk about things that are basic relationship norms, but you like frame them in the most toxic way possible. I don't understand. So you talk about like, if I'm going to wear something and go out to a club, my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, is going to approve of it, which it, to some extent like can make sense in a relationship context. But if you flip that around, if your boyfriend or husband says, I'm going to go out to party, you know, and there's like, you know, 10 girls there and like 2 guys, I imagine you'd have to okay that, right? You'd have to tell him whether or not you give him permission to do that, no?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys frame these things like my husband is the ultimate authority and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. For all of you guys, it's a back and forth. Like, you're going to be okaying what he does. He's going to be okaying what you do. That has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity or anything like that. That's just like 2 adults having a relationship, figuring out what the boundaries are.
Thank you.
Yes.
I agree with Destiny in the sense that both men and women have to be respectful. You have to decide and discuss in the relationship what type of boundaries you have in the couple. However, men and women are different. Men are going to be much more picky in terms of how a woman advertises herself, how she dresses. On the other side, a woman is going to be much more picky if her man is spending a lot of money on another woman. So, of course, you have to have respect. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge differences. And one rule for one person doesn't necessarily apply the same to another person in the relationship. It wouldn't be fair to say that a woman cannot wear revealing clothes if the man cannot wear revealing clothes, because it's not the same and they don't have the same impact. If a woman does it, she's literally advertising herself to potential mate. For men, it will be just stupid. And this is why when you comment on such subjects, it's very important to have read before evolutionary psychology books in order to understand what are the mating strategies of men and why we have evolved the way we are and why we have these preferences, why we have these mate guarding strategies. Let's continue.
I just think personally the ideal situation is when you're with a guy that you can trust his decision making. And I think
And
the
he's
girls
skilled.
that I see where they wear the pants in the relationship, they're miserable.
That's very true, Pearl. The women that wear the pants in the relationship, the women that tend to earn much more than their husband, are miserable most of the time. Obviously, you will have some exceptions here and there, but on average, women do not tolerate a man that earns less money. That's a fact. And you can see it in the statistic regarding divorces. At the end of the day, you cannot have 2 pilots in the plane. You need 1 leader. So you have to decide who is going to be the final person that will make the decision. And when it comes to decision making, obviously men and women are different. However, men do not go through hormonal changes throughout the month. So they tend to be more consistent. And when it comes to hard decisions, I would rather choose someone that is more consistent than someone that their mood change all the time. Interesting. Let's continue.
Why
You
can't
can
we?
move a little
Why
bit
can't we
after.
make decisions together?
Together.
Like he said, if you have more expertise in that field, say okay. Like if I'm trying to make a decision with my man now. I know about properties, right? Say he doesn't know anything about properties. I'm gonna be like, oh babe, because I've bought a property, this is what I'm gonna tell you. And because he's probably like, men know more about cars. I don't know about cars. I will never tell my man anything about cars, because I assume, because men seem to know more about cars, and if he has a nice car, he's been driving for a long time, I'm gonna think, you know what, that's his field. Why does it have to be someone wear the pants?
Someone has to wear the pen. Someone has to be the leader for various reasons. And for the same reasons that in one company, you have only one CEO. In the government, you only have one president, one prime minister. Because when it comes to decision making, at some point, someone has to make the decision. It is great that both the men and the women are discussing. It's great that one person has more knowledge on one thing. But sometimes they will disagree and they will fight for a long time. When you do not have a leader, you will keep fighting for months, for years, because you do not agree on what is the course of action. And this is why it's so important to have a leader, someone that will make the final decisions. Not all the time, obviously. Most of the time, you will be discussing. The man is going to expose his argument. The woman is going to expose her arguments as well. And most of the time, you will be able to find a compromise or reach a conclusion together. But for this small percentage of times where you cannot make a decision together, someone needs to have the ability to make this decision. And someone has to be the leader. And this is why the man, or if you decide in a relationship it's the woman, has to be the leader. Someone has to make the final decision when it comes to topics that are so complicated and you can't agree. And at the end of the day, this person that will make the final decision, they have to live with the consequences. And hopefully, this woman will find the right man, someone that is competent to make the right decisions. Otherwise, it's going to be dreadful. Dreadful because if you make bad decisions, you have to live with the consequences. And this is what it is to be a leader, someone that will make decisions and be happy to be accountable for the outcome of their decisions. Let's continue.
Again, like, I don't want a leader.
So relate and struggle then.
You guys keep talking about how you need a man to lead.
Yeah.
I already know myself. I'm an adult. You know, I've spent a lot of time with myself. I'm in tune with myself. What I want is partnership.
Yes, my love.
I want a man that we can actually share experiences together, rather than a leader.
Yeah, I think the problem is.
This is bullshit. She says that she wants a partnership, yet she wants a man that earns much more money than her. She wants a partnership, but she wants a man that is more educated than her. She wants a partnership, but she wants a man that is more intelligent than her, more confident, funnier. This is not what you're looking for. It's not a partnership. You're looking for a leader. If you're looking for someone that is better on all metrics, that's not partnership. And I will bet you that this woman will not go out on date if the man doesn't pay. This woman will want a man that earns much more money, that's going to pay for the vast majority of the bills. She will not tolerate a man that when she's pregnant and she stops working, that can't pay the bills. She will not tolerate this. And this is why when you hear this word partnership, you have to be very careful what they mean by it. If they mean they want both people to do the very same, you have to be worried about it. If they say that you want one person to contribute in a specific way, someone else to contribute in a different way, and both of them to be complementary, that's great. When they say that I want a man that earns at least as much as I earn, that's not a partnership. That's not a partnership. And this is why when you hear this partnership, you have to be very careful about what they mean by partnership. Let's continue.
Which I have met some really good young men
100%.
that had the same standards as my man have. But you know what? The women don't want them because they're average men.
All your
The women
videos,
want
everybody's videos.
The women want
says
above
that we have
average.
to
Auntie, can I add something
So what
onto
is
that?
it?
The women want above. When I met my man, I was average, he was average. He was sexy as hell and all the young girls wanted him. Do you know what I mean? But we were both average people. And he was always sensible from
You're sounding like I
young.
need to settle. Why can't I want amazing?
No,
Why do I not deserve
but this is the thing.
Why do I not deserve it?
Have you heard this woman that said that she doesn't want to settle? It is the same woman that is already 39 and she looks really obese that said that she doesn't want to settle. She would be lucky if an average man settled for her. And this is why so many women are delusional. She believes that she can attract a top shelf guy, which is ridiculous. She's probably a 2 or 3 out of 10 in the dating market. When you're already late 30s, early 40s, not in a great shape, obese, you have to be realistic in your expectations. When you think that you can get a 1% guy, you have to change your expectation. That's crazy. I'm very surprised that at 39, she doesn't have a reality check already. And at 39, still not realizing your value, that's actually very, very shocking. And at the end of the day, these women that are delusional, that do not have any idea of reality, will end up dying alone with cats. Because this is what happens. Men do not want to deal with the type of women. Women that think that they are 9, 10s when they are obese 39-year-old women. That's insane. If you like this content, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's continue.
Saying I need to have it as average. Why? I ain't average. I am not average. I'm gonna let you know right
What
now.
makes you not average?
Because if I look at my age mates, my successes, my achievements, my personality, my drive, my motivation is unmatched.
This is next level of delusion. A 39-year-old woman, obese, thinks that she's above average. She clearly doesn't understand what men are looking for. At 39, you still do not understand what men are looking for. I don't know. I mean, if at this point you haven't realized that how the market works, what men want, then you're gonna die alone. As simple as that. Let's break it down. She believes that she's a top chef woman because, first, her age mate. Probably because she earns much more money than her friends, she thinks that she's a top chef woman. Or first of all, your circle is not the market. Secondly, it's not because your friends have earned average money, or even if they earn a lot of money, that this has anything to do with your dating value. Men do not care about the ability of a woman to earn money, especially high value men, the men that she's looking for. Secondly, successes and achievements. Again, men don't care about this, especially top men. Top men are already successful. They do not need a woman to be successful. They are already successful. They already make a lot of money. What they want is a woman that can complement them. That's what they want. They do not want a masculine woman next to them, someone that is trying to compete with them. That's not what high value men are looking for. Thirdly, personality. The fact that she's delusional proves just one point, that her personality is out of touch with reality. And she doesn't seem to be a very nice woman that you want around. So if she can't be a woman that you want to be around because she seems very confrontational, she doesn't seem to admit or to be self-aware of her value, that's very worrying. And men don't care about drive and motivation. She keeps using this type of words. Drive, motivation. That's great when you're like a teenager, not when you're like 39. I would say that this woman, tomorrow, if she really wants to make a change, what she needs to do is obviously first, change her mindset. Secondly, lose a ton of weight. Thirdly, be surrounded by good friends, people that can tell her the reality so she can be self-aware of her own worth on the market. Let's continue to hear from Auntie Jenny.
Are you a single parent?
I am a single
You're
parent.
average. I'm average. I'm average.
Yeah, she's a single parent, so she's average. She's not even average. I would say she's below average. Really below average. Ooh, that's starting to be a bit heated. Let's continue.
I really hate how being a single mother diminishes your value as a human being. How you can go from a 10, suddenly everyone's like, oh, now you're a 5 because you're single. But that says nothing about who you are as a person. That says nothing about your mastery, about your talent, about the discipline that it takes to get better. But now there's somebody.
This doesn't matter. You don't decide the market. Your sexual market value is defined by your attractiveness to men. I'm not saying that as a human being you do not have a value. Everyone deserves to be respected, and in terms of the law we are all equal. However, in terms of sexual market value, your ability to attract men, you have to understand how they think and what type of benefit they are drawing from the relationship. If you do not understand how men think, you will never understand what they are looking for. Men do not like single mothers. That's very clear. It doesn't make sense for a high value man to be with a single mother. It makes sense maybe for an average man or a low quality man to be with a single mother. But if a man has the choice, why would he settle with a single mother when he has lots of choices? Men want to have the ability to have kids. And if a woman already have kids, then this man will have to invest his resources and time on someone else's kids. It doesn't really work. But when you reverse the role, it is different if a man is a single father. Especially if the man has lots of resources, he will still be able to pay for his kids and pay for other kids. And this is why polygyny has always worked throughout history, even though it's not the best model. Let's continue.
What the reason why when somebody calls somebody average, it's usually perceived to be an insult, right? I think we hear it that way, we give it that way. Nobody's ever told somebody that they're average is like a nice thing to say to somebody. Now we can say that like, oh well, average is most people are average, kind of, but also not really, right? If you look at like an average person has 1.9 legs because some people are missing legs, but no human has 1.9 legs. You have 2 or 1, right? When we look at who we are as people, there are some things that we excel at, and there are some things that we don't do anything at. So I think that's why we never feel average, right? Because we're above average, hopefully, at whatever our competency is in. So when you say that somebody's average, it's always going to be perceived as an insult. So I'm sure that Camilla or anybody else, you guys all had crazy degrees. You guys are all more educated than I am, right? I'm sure that on a whole, you might be an average person, but you're not going to perceive yourself that way because you push yourself forward in some areas that make you not average, and hopefully you're looking for other people to plug into those above average.
Average is not an insult. You can be just average in the middle and still be fine. I don't understand why people do not accept to be average. We have, for example, in terms of cognitive ability, IQ. The IQ of 100 is average. It is not only average, but it is usually the median. So you have as many people above 100 than people under. But when it comes to being average, there's nothing wrong to be average. There's nothing wrong to have an average salary. The issue today is that you have a lot of women that have unrealistic expectations, like this woman a bit earlier. They have unrealistic expectations when they are average or even below average, and they do not tolerate an average man. When most of the time, an average man will be okay with an average woman. And this is why when you see the statistic on dating apps, the vast majority of men will classify women like a bell curve. Some of them will be very beautiful, others average, and others will be just below average, but it's well distributed. So for example, on dating apps, women find 80% of the men below average in terms of attractiveness. So it's different, it's skewed when it comes to women. And this is why a lot of men, or even women, do not like to be called average, unfortunately. And as a society, we should not feed delusion. If someone is average, it's fine to call them average. I don't see a problem with this. I would say that, for example, a man that is average height is average height based on the country. If you are 5'9" or 5'8", you're probably average height in the US. If you're 5'8", you're probably higher than the average in South American countries. So it all depends where you go. But someone that is average, there's nothing insulting about it. That is actually very interesting. Let's continue.
Say that again.
Single dads that are fighting for custody of kids who can take care of their kids, you're already selecting for a pretty rare guy,
Yeah,
right?
because they don't typically win.
No, because they don't typically fight for it. They usually just cut and run.
But the reason is, like, I've talked to different attorneys about this, and the reason most attorneys will tell guys not to fight for custody because it's so expensive.
No, they won't. I've talked to the lead attorney too. No. They tell them not to fight because oftentimes they won't win. Because when a court is trying to figure out who's going to get custody of the kid,
it's very expensive. And a lot of times it's like, do you want to waste your life savings when you're most likely are not going to win?
No.
That's very true. I think Destiny is wrong on this one. It is very expensive. And the men that file for divorce and ask for custody are the small minority of men that can afford it and that have the high chance to win custody. When you state statistics, you have to make sure that you understand where they're coming from. Of course, men can ask for custody. That's totally fine. However, when you have to pay another 20k, 30k or 50k just for the hassle that comes with asking for custody, I can understand why a lot of men, especially when they go already through a very expensive divorce, will refuse to do it. If you enjoyed this video, check out the Vice Panel Feminist Reaction. It's amazing as well. This is the end of part 1. Part 2 in just a few days. Stay connected.